Hey gang, welcome to the Philippines. Today I'm going to talk about some huge mistakes that I keep seeing expats who either come to the Philippines or they go to other countries from the United States in my capacity as a lawyer. It's basically 4 different things that I see that they don't take care of from a legal standpoint or they just don't know about, which surprises me because really the information on this is pretty widely available. Maybe because I am a lawyer and I deal with this in my practice all the time, that I'm more observant of it than others. But let's talk about those things and I will show you this park as we walk on my daily exercise while we talk about this. So the first huge mistake that I see is that they do not exit the tax systems in their home states before they leave the United States, nor do they make really good tax planning decisions before they leave the United States and come to the Philippines or go to another country to where they're going to be spending the majority of their time or they're going to be living. So for one of the things I've been seeing a lot recently especially is people from California. New York's another one, but California is the one that I've been running into a lot recently, is they leave California, they come to the Philippines or they go to Thailand or wherever else, and they're still earning income. So they still have income coming in, but they haven't exited the horrible California tax system. And it really doesn't make any sense why you would move to another country and pay state sales taxes, or not sales taxes, income taxes, dividend taxes, whatever, back in that state where you are no longer going to be taking any advantage of the infrastructure or anything else there, when you can do that. You can exit that residency before you come. Now, you cannot leave California and just go straight to another country. You actually have to establish residency, which is not that hard, in another state so that you have properly exited that system before you go abroad. And then once you've done that step, then you're free to go abroad and exit. There's like nobody hardly in this little park here today, which is a good thing. Back over there, however, it's like really noisy. We've got construction going here. The other thing is that there are ways, if you move abroad, that if you do one of 2 different things, you can reduce, in some cases, you can almost eliminate your federal income taxes, and you can do so legally because you can get an exemption if you have income. Now, this is not counting dividends and stuff like that. It's talking real income. You're being paid for services you render, or for instance, you're working for an employer. And you can capitalize on that with the foreign earned income tax exclusion, which allows you, I think right now it's about 107, maybe 108. $108,000 if you're single, of the first $108,000 of your income that you can reduce, that you don't have to pay any taxes on that if you have met one of 2 tests. This is a short video, so I'm not going to go into those tests. It's just something for you to be aware of. So the point of this first segment is that you really need to do some tax planning and look at your options so that you can save quite a bit of money. People seem to be like scared to talk to attorneys or CPAs or tax planners. They can spend a few $100 and talk to an attorney. They, in some cases, can learn this stuff on their own and save themselves thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in taxes. Now, if you just like paying taxes when you don't have to, when you can legally reduce the way, then by all means keep doing so. By the way, don't forget to like this if you find it useful and subscribe if you ever want to find this stuff together. By the way, if you ever want a consultation with an attorney who handles either immigration or moving offshore and stuff, you can always go over to my website. It's in the link in the description. You can book a consultation. Be happy to talk to you. The second thing that I see is that people fail to establish a plan to take care of their affairs that they're going to have back in the United States and to actually test those plans before they leave. Walk back this way. So what I mean by that is a lot of times people they'll have bank accounts and stuff in the United States, sometimes rental properties, and they have to have somebody that has access in the United States to handle those things if they can't handle it remotely or if something occurs. So people will like go to like these silly, stupid websites like LegalZoom and stuff. They'll get a generic power of attorney and think that, you know, they've just solved all of the world's problems and all of their problems with those documents. And usually it's not tailored either to their jurisdiction or to what their needs are, or it's giving tremendous amount of power, much more power than you would need to give, where it should be more limited to somebody that's going to then have complete control of your assets to do things that you don't want them to do. And so it really behooves to figure out what you actually need for that person to have powers to do, limit those powers, have an easy way of revocation, and making sure that anybody that's going to have access to that power of attorney knows that you can revoke those powers and how you can revoke them. And it doesn't take a lot of planning to do that, but again, I see people getting in trouble all the time. They trust the wrong person with the power of attorney. They give them access to stuff that they didn't need to by giving these huge general durable powers of attorney when they could limit them and have it only affect what needs to be affected while they're abroad. Next, and I talk about this all the time, is failure to have redundancy in their financial plans when they go abroad from the United States. And I talked about this in so many different videos, but it's so important, and I continue to see people make mistakes when it comes to those plans. And what I mean by that is that they have only one bank account, or they've only set up one system that allows them to transfer monies abroad from their bank accounts, or they go with only one credit card, or they're just against credit and they have rejected credit cards, which is actually silly. I'm okay with not carrying a balance, I'm all for that, but they can help save you from fraud without touching your principal money. So my recommendation is always for people to have at least double, but I prefer triple on their systems. So 3 bank accounts, 3 credit cards, 3 ways of transferring cash and getting money to yourself when you're abroad, so that if any one of those systems fail, you have not 1 but 2 backup plans that allows you to get the first one restored, or at least an alternative one set up in case something breaks down and before you can get that thing that broke down fixed. And both of those last 2, one of the problems with it is that I really don't see people testing those systems out before they actually go abroad and find out for the very first time that their system's not going to work. So to give a couple of examples on that, if you're dealing with the power of attorney issue, not checking with banks, for instance, to see if those are going to be accepted. So as a practicing attorney, many times I will draft a power of attorney so that someone will be able to handle banking issues for, say, a parent or something like that. And they're perfectly legal, they're perfectly in compliance with the state law, federal law, and they give the amount of power that's needed to the person who's going to be the attorney, in fact, the person using the power of attorney. And you'll find out that they'll take it to one bank, absolutely is fine. They'll go to a bank around the corner, and that bank is just going to reject the power of attorney because they've got some in-house lawyer that for some reason in their forms has determined they need a specific 2 different words than what every other bank in town is, and that's how they're earning their keep. One of the most frustrating things I had to deal with in the state that I was is that every single bank would want a little bit different language. If I knew which bank it was, and it was one that was frequented, then I could just craft a power of attorney that would deal with that. But sometimes you'd have 2 different bank accounts, they would each insist on different language. They weren't required by the statute. But again, until you actually have tested that and know you're going to be on the other side of the world, and maybe not, you're going to be able to get it notarized and get it back quick enough to have that your attorney, in fact, the person you've given the power of attorney to actually fix that. Walking down here, it looks like we have found a bunch of fighting cocks, roosters, or at least some coops with a bunch of them in there. This road's very fun. Motorcycle people really love to rev their engines here in the Philippines. Well, let's walk over here real quick and just see this. See if we can't see some roosters. I don't know if you can see them that far in the distance. Hopefully you can hear them. Well, if you want to buy a rooster lot, there you go. Final thing that I see is that people do not put together either an end-of-life plan or an incapacitation plan. So they really haven't put anything in place to determine what's going to happen to them, what's going to happen to their possessions, what's going to happen to their estate after they've passed away, or if they become incapacitated. And it's one thing to just tell somebody that that's what they want to do, although quite frankly I see a lot of people that haven't even done that far, and people are scrambling around and trying to compete with multiple jurisdictions and figure out what they can do legally and what they can't do legally after the person's gone, even if we don't have a lot of assets. And it's not that hard to put together some sort of a plan that's going to inform everybody of what they want to have happen with different things, that's going to be legal, that's going to be enforceable, that's going to allow people not to have to hire a bunch of attorneys after the fact to try to fix it. And it doesn't take a lot of time, it doesn't even take a lot of cost to do those things unless you've got a huge estate or a huge amount of assets. And more importantly, the one that if somebody gets incapacitated while they're abroad, so that somebody can continue to run their affairs, make sure that everything doesn't collapse, and to try to take care of their situation now that they're incapacitated, to help them hopefully get back to where they're in good shape. All right, gang, I'm going to finish my walk here in this beautiful park, and I will see you guys in the next video here in the Philippines.